Welcome to Ugly Oysters. This video is one of a series of discussions based on Jordan Peterson's book, Beyond Order. Today, we look at Peterson's chapter called Rule 7, Work as hard as you possibly can on one thing and see what happens, which challenges us to see that the worst decision of all is no decision. Really? How do our decisions affect us? Is it rational decision-making or following our passion that is most to be valued? I have posted timestamps below if you wish to locate anything specific.
Hi.
Good morning.
Morning.
How are things?
Not bad.
Good.
Yeah. Recently also watching Peterson's video.
Oh. And?
Yeah. And it just strengthened his words, like his theory, make you understand more. Make you go deeper with him. Make you know more details about him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about this focus on one thing. So do you want to summarize it before?
Okay. So this is now Rule 7.
Mm-hmm.
And the rule is work as hard as you possibly can on at least one thing and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds pretty good. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it relates to his rule 2, which is imagine who you could be and aim single-mindedly at that.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of. I think they're connected. Anyway, in this chapter, he basically says that there is value, because I think somewhere he talks about how values you need to find what it is that's important to you, identify the important things. Anyway, he says there's value in internal unity and there's increased suffering in internal confusion. So he's just saying it's better to be sort of organized within yourself rather than disorganized and conflicted. And he says the way to be organized inside is to pick something of the highest value and let everything else organize around that.
Yes.
And he says this is all part of maturity, discipline, and it's, something to be properly valued. He says the worst decision of all is to remain uncommitted to a highest value. A person needs to choose a direction and become something rather than not choose anything and just be nothing.
Yeah, right. Otherwise, you're just an empty container.
Seems that way. And so, once you pick something, then the discipline of commitment to that thing will help you to organize your internal self. And so you have to voluntarily allow yourself to be ruled or mastered by whatever governs that thing that you're aiming for, and become a master yourself. So he kind of uses this slave and master metaphor. You begin by being a slave of the thing that you be mastered by the thing that you're aiming for, so that you can ultimately become its master. And then he uses the example of Jesus, who was basically he became a master of the tradition of the law, And then he rose above it. He actually sort of became on the level of spirit, you could say, using Peterson's words. Peterson also uses the frame of dogma and spirit. Master the dogma until you can achieve the spirit of it and be able to make decisions independent of the particular dogmas. And we could add King David and King Saul. In the Old Testament, King David was submitted entirely to King Saul. Even King Saul wanted to kill him. But when King Saul died, David grieved. That means he grieved the loss of that which mastered him. But then King David became the master.
Yeah, well, that's a good way to think about it too.
Yeah.
So David and Saul's story, it also represents somehow of that.
Yeah, I think so. So I think that's a basic summary of the chapter.
Yeah, good perspective.
Yeah.
Sorry, you continue?
I think that's a basic summary of the chapter.
Oh, okay. So, do you have anything like related to your life? You felt this rule is so important, or actually, this rule to me, it's a very, I can't say that it's a new one, you know. We usually always say, oh, you need to focus on one thing, should not like always switch your goal or something. But that's technique talking. So kind of like we tell the kids, if you focus on tennis, you're gonna do tennis. You know, if you focus on piano, you do piano. It's a technique thing. It's not what Peterson is talking about. Actually, he's talking about more deeply about the value system. So I felt it's a pretty new to me, you know. It's kind of open my horizon somehow. Like you master the old structure or value, then you come to the top and you can change a little bit. This thing, you know, and kind of we talk about it, but I don't feel it until Peterson articulated it. Yeah. So how about you? Like you already have this this rule in your skin, in your blood, or you also have the same feeling as me?
I think there are... No, I'm kind of like the horse that doesn't want to be saddled. I don't like to be mastered by any rider.
It's kind of also Western spirit, though.
Yeah, there's a part of me that rebels a little bit to what he says. You know, he says you need to be mastered, and then you're able to move to spirit. And I just always kind of identified, like, when he says move to spirit, he actually uses one of my very favorite Bible verses. And that Bible verse is, the wind blows where it pleases, you hear the sound of it, you can't tell where it's coming from or where it's going, so it is with the children of God. But I just adapt that almost immediately, whereas he says you need to be disciplined or mastered before you can attain to that level of spirit. And maybe... But then he also says at a certain point, there's a kind of back and forth between spirit and mastery. Let me see if I can... Yeah, there's kind of a yin and yang aspect to this mastery and spirit and mastery. He says, psychologically speaking, I'm just reading from his book, it's on page 197. He says, psychologically speaking, Christ is a representation or an embodiment of the mastery of dogma and the consequent emergence of spirit. So spirit comes after mastering the dogma. But
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Then he says the spirit is the creative force that gives rise to what becomes dogma. So, which came first, spirit or dogma, you know? And then the next
It's kind
sentence,
of like a chicken, chick and egg.
yeah, exactly. I think it is like
Yeah.
that, chicken and egg. So if that's the case,
But in my mind, I still think the dogma come first. Spirits come later.
yeah, well, so
Kind of like you need to practice in reality world, you know. Then you draw rules, how to follow. So you know, then your spirit will go up to that rules.
yeah, well,
Anyway, it's important.
well, but I think anyone who reads the Bible, suppose you read the Bible and I read the Bible, you could probably find verses that support your view that dogma comes
Yeah,
first,
right.
say like the Old Testament, and I could find verses that support that the dogma doesn't matter, you just follow the Spirit. So I think
Oh,
there's
yeah.
a interplay with those concepts. Yeah. And
So actually, like Peterson just talk about how to join these two together.
I think
Kind of
so.
like a more balanced.
I think so, but typical of
But when
Peterson.
he talk about it, he is not from the practical view to talk about how to balance. I think it's more like go deep, you know, like you will know after he articulate to you, you will know like if you don't go deep, you're gonna ruin your word. So this is very, to me, it's kind of a very how to say it, like a astonishing message.
If you, I'm trying to understand what you're saying. If you don't go deep, it will ruin
So
your.
if we don't go deep, it's kind of there is a basic deficiency of your value system and of your life then later. Like before, like to me, because we Chinese people, we're always talking about how to focus on one thing, continue to practice, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, how you say, we put it in the technique skill, you know, like you practice ping pong, never stop.
Yeah.
You practice tennis, never quit. So it's kind of a persistent thing if you say value.
Yeah.
It's only a technique thing, how
Yeah.
you persist then.
Yeah.
So it's kind of absolutely rule. But the thing is, it's forced from outsider. Like parents would tell the kids, boss would tell the colleague, the workers. So then it's kind of was posed by the outside world. So you just take it as a burden, obligation. But you will not put it into your heart. I think what Peterson changed my view of this rule is he really write this into my heart. So that's why what I feel, oh wow, it's so amazing. Kind of he is kind of this guy, he can change your heart. You know, so that's why I felt more and more admire him. But how he changed, and he used the technique of articulate things clearly, and that's the skill, and he has the very perfect skill of that.
So I understand what you mean when you say focus on the external, like a skill, like ping pong or tennis or
Yeah, we
something.
always talk about this word. So I think, oh, Peterson, like the old jaw, talking about this focus on one thing also, you know. So when I come into this chapter, I just think, oh, I'm gonna listen old jaw talking. But actually, when I go into, I felt, wow, it's a new jaw.
So I'm trying to understand, how is your view different now from the ping pong tennis view?
I think he is through this value system. He actually is through like how you view this world, how you see things around yourself. Actually, it's more deeply how you view yourself. So it's not about how you play ping pong or stick on to practice ping pong and kind of to be diligent. Then you will be noticed to be the best player. It's totally different. That way, kind of, you still conformity to the society. But Peterson's way, it's kind of a more subjective way. How are you going to act? How are you going to look at the world? Why this is matter to you? Even ping pong. Why you stick in ping pong and keep on practicing matters to you? Why?
Yeah.
So he kind of touched this button of why.
Yeah.
And then when you solve the why, you actually solve all of the things, including the technique of playing ping pong. So that's why I just feel, oh, he is so wonderful, you know?
Yeah, I find, and I don't know if it's just this chapter or if it's the procedure of reading all the chapters, and some of this is subconsciously linking together. Like, you know, in Rule 2, when he says, imagine who you could be and aim single-mindedly at that, he's already planting the seed, you know? And maybe that's in my mind. And then when I read this chapter, then that kind of arouses that seed to come up even more. I know I'm finding myself asking myself again, what do I value most deeply? You know?
Yes.
What is the one thing I want to aim single-mindedly at? And then work as hard as I can to achieve, to see what happens. And I think it's complicated in one sense because I've lived in so many different countries. I don't view the rules of any given country as absolute. I mean, I was already that way to begin with. But when I started living in other countries, I just see how things differ, you know?
Yeah.
And how can I find a value, you know, like, if you don't...
I know. You kind of want to find a value above all this, you know, different values.
Yeah.
Because this also what Peterson said inspired me. He talked to a guy named Sam, because Sam is an atheist. So Sam said, I just used rational, you know, to going through things.
Yeah.
So Peterson insists on, but even you use rational to going through things, you still will have a judgment. Then there is the value there. How you judge this fact, you see, right? So, but above all of this, a small value, like different tribes, why they fight? They fight for what? They fight for this higher value, which can ruin all this tribe value. So then I think, oh, I got this. You know, it's kind of like we have the conflicts, like an Arabic country. Maybe they are differ in the small value, like they differ. They try to cover the woman's face for some of their value. But we maybe kind of make women's feet be smaller, try to cover, convey some value, beauty or something. But above all, this kind of hurt woman's body or dignity, whatever this, represent what kind of a value there. There should be have the common value there. So when you see this common value, then you will view this world like a more precisely, more clear. Yeah. Otherwise, you were just buried in different value, and you felt that conflict, and you don't know which value you're going to choose. I think actually the wise thing to do is you see the conflict, or you're going through the conflict with different value, then you rise up to the up value, then you will see the world more clearly. This is how he inspired me by this focus on one thing chapter. And this make me feel, wow, actually all of the struggle, human being, they fighting, they have a war, whatever, they damaging people's life. What they're fighting for? I think both sides, they think they are fighting for something better or for something worthwhile. And that fits their value system.
Yeah.
So even the war, I think there is commonality there, common aspect. I mean, I make up words maybe.
That's okay. I like your made up words. Commonality. Let's see what the the words are on the bottom of the screen. So, but that also brings a kind of conflict in me, because when I'm looking at what Peterson's talking about, I can't tell if I'm the one who's unwilling to submit to the dogma, or if I'm the one who's rising above it. Because if you seek that kind of universal value, that can also put you in conflict with the smaller values,
Yeah, definitely. For example, like we Chinese have thousands of years to break the girls' bone of their feet to make it smaller, right?
Yeah.
Thousands of years. So this to a outsider, for example, a Westerner coming to the country, think, what? Why they do that?
Yeah.
But in this Chinese society, why it can continue 1,000? There should be something they're chasing and they agree or whatever,
Yeah.
So definitely, when you pursue the higher value, every human being's body should be cherished, this higher value. You definitely will conflict this small value of Chinese society.
Excuse me. Yep.
About this break the bone of the girls. But still, what's there?
Yeah.
When you conflict, you will see what their value for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just not the simple fact, say, oh, they're kind of a barbaric tribe or something.
So,
but actually, it's not. Like a Chinese civilization at that time, they're prospering. They're not barbaric. So why? What's happening there?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I also have been thinking about that lately, actually, the feet. As far as I understood, it was related to Confucian values, but I don't know what's the relationship. Like, do you know what the value was that supported that?
I think it's kind of a steal to me, because I think about this thing yesterday. I don't know why, it's just jumped into my mind. I just think it's still like a patriarchy cultural, and how to support that. It's kind of like using the distorted way, using, the inferior class, let's say women. You kind of surrender yourself by sacrificing yourself, by hurting yourself to prove the loyalty to the man. It's kind of by cutting yourself, by hurting yourself, you kind of show your loyalty
and sacrificial spirit.
Yeah, your obedience, and also like your addiction. I can say addiction. How to say the word? Show your
dedication.
You belong to the system. It's also like you attached to the system. You are like part of the system, but you are not mainstream, but you are so loyalty. You want to attach yourself to that system. It's like also like this shell theory in China, like kids need obedience to the parents. How they obedient also need to show some cut self, hurting self-sacrifice, like evidence to prove your loyalty. So I think it's kind of sickness proof about the loyaltiness, you know. So loyalty is something they value.
So
Then they kind of yeah.
So to put it in a positive way, if we're looking at that kind of higher value, what that is maybe we don't agree with the method, but the spirit of it is valuing something and then showing your dedication to it.
Yeah. I think you see, and this make me thinking another thing. Loyalty is good, right?
Right.
It's a good virtue.
Right.
But if you abstract the loyalty out of the whole story, out of the whole value, let's say God have the whole value. God, mercy, loyalty, righteous, whatever.
Okay.
But if you just abstract one virtue out of God, like say mercy.
Okay.
If you just only value mercy, it's also unbalanced.
Right.
You will become so weak. You're going to be attacked by others. You can't protect your own children. So you can't just abstract one value there. So then I think in China, in Chinese culture, they abstract this loyalty. They value loyalty so much. They abstract this virtue out of the whole God. Let's say God, let's say God represents the whole value. Or we can use other word if you are atheist. So if you abstract the one value, which is loyalty, out of this whole picture, then you see, well, still you will meet this trouble. It will go further and further. It's just like the Bible said, the angel also become, the demon.
Right.
That's how angel become demon. If you just emphasize one virtue,
Right.
from the whole virtue. So then I think wholeness is so important. And what wholeness is about? Wholeness is including black and white.
Right.
Because I still want to talk about like a Jehovah's Witness. At
Right.
first I was attracted to them. But then when they exclude the darkness outside of the lightness, then the story is not whole at all.
Right.
So it's the same thing, like a communist, is it good? Good. Yeah. Like show, is it good? Good. Loyalty, is it good? Good. But if you just abstract one value from the whole value, or you abstract several values from the whole value, your society, your value system, your people, everyone's still going to suffer. Because this one value, it will become the virtue, we even say virtue. This one virtue, it will become this Lucifer, this angel,
Yeah.
think he's too powerful, so brightness or whatever. Then it will push to the end, and the push to the end at that time is okay. So I forgot where we are. Just
Okay.
now we talking about.
Yeah, we lost
this
our battery power for a minute there. Now we had to restart. Okay, so I have a reply to that. I think you pretty much explained your whole concept. If there was anything missing, maybe I can provoke it back out. But I got hung up on the word dogma because I thought to myself when I was reading it, so he's telling me I need to submit to dogma. But what's the difference between ideology, which I'm supposed to abandon, and dogma, which I'm supposed to be a slave to? And there was a video, I tried to find his own words for it, like I wanted to find out what does he mean by dogma. And it was, I think, one of the same video series that you were just talking about. Jordan Peterson and what's his name? Sam Harris. Sam Harris. And it was like about a 3.5-minute clip. And Sam Harris said to Jordan Peterson, "Aren't you contradicting yourself when you say that you should abandon ideology but embrace dogma?" I may be misquoting that passage. I'm going to put the link below because I kept that video. Maybe I'm misrepresenting it totally. But in my mind, that's what it was. But Peterson's response was that the problem with ideology is that it tends to, it's too narrow. It focuses on a particular thing, like you said, even a good thing. If you make compassion the only value or the absolute value, it's too narrow. It leaves out these other things, and then compassion can become demonic. And he said,
yeah, that's basically what I say.
Yeah, and he said the reason why he advocates religion, he wasn't contrasting dogma and ideology. He was contrasting religion and ideology, because Sam said religions are ideological as well. And he said the difference is that religion is broader. It's developed over thousands of years, and it incorporates the light and the dark. And it's got a better balance. It doesn't mean that the religions are absolute in every detail. Maybe there's lots of things about the religions that are not good. But somehow they've managed to incorporate a larger picture in a more balanced way that ideology is incapable of doing. Ideology is too narrow. And then my own understanding is that you can have a dogma that comes from religion. You can have a dogma that comes from ideology. Dogma is just the beliefs that you are supposed to accept in accordance with that particular thing. So, yeah, I agree with what you're talking about. And I believe I also have a clearer understanding of what Peterson's trying to say. Religion, I do think, and we're just talking religion in general, I do think religion offers a broader set of categories that allows us to live a more balanced life, allows us to keep both the light and the dark together in a productive way. Yeah.
So somehow, all the human history actually is just finding this truth, or we see God. Wait, even now, what Peterson got here about this theory or rules, it's still on the procedure. It's kind of a never ending, It's just like a number. You can go to further and further and further. You can infinitely close to God, but you never can reach God. You can infinitely go to the biggest number, but you can't reach what the biggest number is. I think this is the main theory of life.
Well, I believe there is a philosopher, and I'm not sure what his name is. I think it's Schleiermacher or something like that. I will also look that up, try to find that, and post that below the video. But his view is that history is the uniting thread all through history is humanity trying to find value, or attain value, something like that. It's kind of like a process of growing in spirit, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. So still, let's go back to Peterson, this chapter.
Okay.
I really feel, the same word, different people talking, it have different levels. So he kind of make this focus on one thing, go to another deep level for me, and give me kind of a power. So recently, I felt, choose really, really will give you power. And choose need to be clear choose. Choose which you can articulate. It's not fog choose. If it's fog choose, it can't help you. It only can give you opium feeling. So it's kind of like, so you see this utopian world, all of this human being pursuing. This interesting, like with human being, we were hurt ourselves or others, along the journey all the time. But what they are seeking for, some people, they will sacrifice their life and for some idea. So what they are really seeking for. So I think they basically is seeking God, seeking the place they feel they really belong to. The world never cheated them. So this kind of make me feel being touched by his very logical, even cold, rational words to articulate these truths to me. So also make me feel God really is not that mercy tender nanny, because in our mind we always view God like a servant or God like a tender nanny. It's just to give you, hug you, comfort you. No, I think God is more huge than that and more fierce actually. And you need to be fierce of truth. If you just step truth under your feet, then the rule will punish you, because if you violate the rule, you will get punished.
Yeah.
So like in the beginning we talk about this broke the woman's bone for it, and also like you focus on loyalty to it. It's if you not follow the whole truth, then actually it's hurts the whole human race.
Yeah.
So that's what I feel.
Yeah. When I first became a Christian, I remember there were groups that really believed that basically God was the wish granter. And the more you believed in his wish granting ability, the more things you could get for yourself. It was kind of just a tool of magic. If you pray the right way, if you believe the right way, then you get this and this and that. And so if you have 10 Mercedes in your garage, that just shows how much God loves you and how much you've got faith. But none of that fierceness is there. It's just he's the salve for all your wounds, and he's the abundance for all your greed. But another writer I know, another Peterson actually, his name is Eugene Peterson, said there should be a sign above every church that says beware God. That's that more fierce aspect that
I think so.
That you're dealing with something. C.S. Lewis wrote a series of books called The Chronicles of Narnia, and the metaphor for God was lion. He's something fierce. And actually the Bible uses that too. It says that Jesus is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Yeah. So
right.
life needs to have some of those things maybe we don't like, and there's that fierceness. Like, something I don't like to accept is violence in life. but violence is
Yeah.
everywhere. It seems to be part of the created order, like
It's
predators.
added, yeah, it's added this aspect to my my how to say. I don't know how to say. Sorry,
Okay, it's
you need to
okay.
cut that.
No, it's okay.
I mean,
You don't.
my viewing the world, it's added this aspect, this fierce aspect too.
I see.
Mm.
That's good.
Yeah,
So do we want to talk about anything else with this chapter? I also have my criticisms of the chapter, which I didn't
yeah,
address.
sure, go ahead.
Um, Almost my immediate reaction practically the entire chapter is about being mastered by a dogma or by the situation that you want to commit yourself to. And my first question almost is, how is any of this going beyond order? It
Mm-hmm.
it all sounds again like order. It sounds like being ordered by something. But
Mm-hmm.
I just put that as an aside. It doesn't mean I don't agree with what he's saying. It's just
Mm-hmm.
the title of his book is Beyond Order, and I just feel
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like school is always
Mm-hmm.
preparing you for life, but you never actually get to the life piece. It's just prepare, prepare, prepare. Where, as
Mm-hmm.
a teacher, I tried to persuade my students that life is now. You're living life right now, and what you're doing matters right now. I feel
Mm-hmm.
similarly about Peterson. He's got the title
Mm-hmm.
Beyond Order, but everything he talks about, not everything, but so much of what he talks
No
about
order, not
still seems to
beyond.
be bringing you back to order. Yeah, yeah. So
I think that's his base.
that's his base, and that's also my irritation. I always get kind of, I'm eagerly looking for the beyond order, like, teach me how to live in chaos a little bit more. But
Yeah, I see.
I also get his point. I don't reject his point because of that criticism. It's just a feeling thing that I have.
Uh-huh.
Um, maybe his book would be better titled How to Prepare Yourself to Go Beyond Order. Something like
Yeah.
that. Um, Another criticism I have is, he spends a lot of time talking about conformity, and you and I have been talking about the deep, deep value. But
Mm-hmm.
actually, he he's he's sort of talking on all levels. Like, I do think he is touching on the deep value, but I think he's also
Mm-hmm.
just talking about get a job and stick to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think he is also talking about focus on your tennis and get it right. Like whatever, like
Mm-hmm.
there's all the smaller values underneath the big value as well.
Mm-hmm.
But my question is, what if the social game, like he always talks about, understand the rules of the game, be competent in the rules of the game, and then you can be a master of that game. What if the social
Mm-hmm.
game is set up against you from the very beginning? Like, what if you're
Mm-hmm.
born a black person in the American South during time of slavery? Should you
Mm-hmm.
submit yourself to all the rules and become a master of
Yeah.
submission?
But I think it's avoidable.
Uh, Say what you mean.
You
I
can't
didn't.
avoid them. You can't avoid to be a master. Like when you in that culture, like you were just automatically, if you're born in a master family, you become a master. If you become born in a slavery family, you become slave.
Yeah, but I'm trying to imagine how a person would read this chapter if they felt that they were in a situation where everything around them is unfairness, And Peterson's saying, submit to it, become its slave. It sounds kind of, the opposite of what would really be helpful. Like, really, I should actually obey all these injustices and just become mastered by them? If you read this chapter alone, and if you were in a social group that was particularly low down on the ladder, and you heard Peterson say, just, be a slave to the order and then rise above it, I just don't know that would be the advice I'd want to hear. But I also know that Peterson says sometimes order, like in the previous chapter on ideology, order can become, he didn't use the word diabolical, but he used something like it. Where the order can become oppressive and you need to actually rise up against it. Yeah, then there were just particular pieces in the chapter that I just had reactions to. Right at the start, he talks about the value of heat and pressure. Like, he talks about the diamond rather than the coal, and how the diamond has been pressed by the circumstances, and that has caused it to become this precious jewel, and he uses that as a metaphor for the self. Part of that pressure comes about by seeking what you value in the face of opposition. And it's got me thinking about, what do I value? Like I mentioned this earlier. I've been trying to go deeper, and I don't know what it is, but the thing I do seem to keep coming back to is human dignity. Like, I think if this was, if not the highest value, now this is, I'm afraid, if you make human dignity the only value, the absolute value, then maybe that would become a devil. I don't know. But it seems to me that if we held human dignity to be of the highest value, it would solve, I mean, if we seriously treated human dignity as the highest value, that would solve a lot of our conflicts, or at least soften the conflicts. Like, if we could see every human around us with equal dignity and value, then I think we would progress more as people. But I don't know. Maybe human dignity can become demonic. Maybe that's even too narrow. But I keep coming back to that, because sometimes I'm faced with the question, and I just feel when I go to the human dignity issue, what would give the most dignity to the most people? That seems to be the thing that helps me find an answer. Oh yeah, he focuses a lot on the value of internal unity and coherence, But I just think that it kind of gives you the feeling that it's better to be all decided about everything. Don't be undecided about anything. Don't be confused. It's almost as if uncertainty and confusion are not good things. And
because he focuses on action more.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he focuses on action more. And I was thinking that actually there are times where you should be confused, you should be uncertain, and you should
Who is the person more agree to, you can carry the confusion while your action?
Maybe, but
Like action first, then carry the confusion with you while you act.
okay, so then, yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah,
He
point.
just don't want you just stay there, do nothing.
Yeah. Point at something. Just go, and you can always modify it as you
Yeah, you still
go.
can carry the confusion while you act.
Yeah, but there.
You can evaluate if your action is right or wrong.
Yeah, but I do think that, like, so it's not that I'm disagreeing with him entirely. Like, I think people can be stuck, just motionless. They can be frozen. They can be floating in the water with no wind or whatever, like we have all these metaphors to describe people who are basically in a state of, I mean, I, I, I believe if you're not growing, you're dying. Like, and I agree.
Yeah.
Susan Jeffers says, "Feel the fear and do it anyway." Like just go ahead, just do it. You could say, "Feel the uncertainty and do it anyway." But I also think that, okay, if I believe those things, I also think that there is a necessity to wait. There's a lot in the Bible about waiting on God, waiting for His perfect time, waiting for better information, waiting for clarity. You can seek clarity, but some things are just revealed to you too. And there is a principle in the Bible that there are certain things that you only act on when the time is right. You don't just impulsively move into something. Like a person might be eager, say, to try to breach the walls of a city in an act of war, but if you don't time it right, that means you're going to lose the war. Like there's a certain kind of strategy to life, I think, that necessitates waiting. And sometimes that waiting can be for a very long time. Yeah.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's not like I'm disagreeing with Peterson, but I think there's another side to it. Yeah, there's a balance. Is there anything else that popped out to me? Yeah, I think those are the main things that hit me. And I might just put a few verses or quotes or something below the video for that opposite view of waiting and not taking action, not necessarily being clear, waiting for a greater clarity to appear.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you for today.
Okay, thank you.
And see you.
You've got such sparkly eyes.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So, yeah. Hi.
Hi.
You said you're going to add something about the last chapter?
Yeah, well, after our last talk, minutes after, really, I started thinking about another writer who agrees with Peterson, but he takes it from a different angle. He takes it from what I would call the chaos side, which is where you find love and passion and those sort of things. And this writer is also a very good writer. His name is David Whyte, and he wrote a book called, I guess I have to have it right against my body for it to be able to show up, called The Three Marriages. And The Three Marriages is not about a person getting married 3 times. It's about 3 significant commitments in our life. Marriage to a partner, marriage to a work, and marriage to a self, and how all these 3 need to link together. And he uses romantic marriage as a kind of model to understand work and self also. But in this chapter, Peterson's talking about work as hard as you possibly can on at least one thing and see what happens. And we spoke about how, in many ways, he's talking about that one elevated high value, but he's also talking about it at all levels. I think he's talking about, the first commitment should really be a commitment to character, according to Peterson. The next commitment, a commitment to love. And he lists a few things in his chapter on page 186. He says, character, love, family, friendship, and career. All of these things should be part of our deep commitments. But this writer, Whyte, he just talks about the career. But where Peterson uses this language, work hard, focus on one thing, Whyte uses the more emotional way of looking at it, which is what I like. This is what more my preferred starting point. And he talks about falling in love with a career, falling in love. And I'm just going to read some parts of it. He says, being smitten by a path. Smitten is the word we use for falling in love. A direction, an intuited possibility. So Whyte uses the terms intuited possibility. Jordan Peterson would say, find something, aim at it, a target. It's different language. One is very specific and one is more sort of open-ended. No matter what territory it crosses, we can feel in youth or at any threshold as if life has found us at last. Beginning a courtship with a work, like beginning a courtship with a love, demands a fierce attention. Peterson said something about that too, about being very determined. And I don't remember now at this time exactly what he said, but yeah. Yeah, he says it somewhere and I just can't find it right now. It's a pity. Anyway, I know that Peterson... in the chapter title itself, he says, work as hard as you can. Okay? As hard as you can. Well, this one here, David Whyte, says it demands a fierce attention. Kind of same language, but just a different mode of operation. And this fierce attention is required so that we can understand what it is that we belong to in the world. This is more a kind of discovery way. And then he says, but to start the difficult path to what we want, we also have to be serious about what we want. So, but then he says, following this path through increasing levels of seriousness. So we may start working as hard as we can on one thing, as Peterson says, but we may only have so much enthusiasm. But if we follow this path, that enthusiasm will increase. And then we'll reach a certain threshold where our freedom to choose seems to disappear and is replaced by an understanding that we were made for the world in a very particular way, and that this way of being is at bottom non-negotiable. Like the mountain or the sky, it just is. It is as if we choose and choose until we have no choice at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to add that because I like Peterson, but I really like the less rational way, the more heartfelt way of getting to the same thing. And I think this is where Peterson kind of makes it sound a little mechanical, like this is a choice you make. Whyte makes it more integrated with your identity. It's about becoming somebody. It's about your passion, and it's about something that you can't really avoid. In the end, you just realize that this is frankly who you are, and there's just no way around it.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
That's all?
Yep, that's all.
So I got inspired.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what else to say. I think that's it.
Okay.
It's a PS postscript to what we already recorded.
Okay, so let's PS then.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
That's it for today. Come back and check out some of our other videos. Please put your comments below. Hit like and subscribe with notifications if you wish to join in conversations with us on other topics.